Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, guys, or whatever time you're watching this. I just had a couple ideas for our workshop with the Health Society, and after watching this, just please feel free to share any thoughts, any things that you disagree with, any way we can improve this. But it's just a couple ideas I had. For one, I feel like we should maybe I feel like there are three different um, segments or parts to the workshop that we could have. So number one, number one is basically us explaining what GIS is, like GIS 1 basically. GIS is turning geographic data into useful geographic information. GIS uses hardware, software, people, methods and processes, and also the data to turn it all into information that people can use. And then we can move into, okay, fine, where can you find GIS? Then you can explain to people, no, you find GIS everywhere. Simply, Google Maps is a type of GIS where maybe we can explain, no, obviously you can find clinics, you can get to your destinations, things like that. Another simple GIS that people would also be familiar with is, let's say, Yango. Obviously, using mapping technology to get to your destination, and you're using locations to that's how people when they're using Yango, if I'm making sense. Number two, I feel like maybe this is the section where we actually find data from the internet and turn it into a map in front of people we can use. So what I found, because it's the health society, I think, I don't know, this was the document. They have different disciplines, and I was really interested in the human nutrition side of it. So I thought, okay, let's find something on food insecurity, right? So I found this data set. Okay, let's go to this PDF. I found this data set which basically shows places in Namibia that are vulnerable to food insecurity, right? So on a scale of 1 to 5, it shows on 1 where it's very minimal to 5 where it's really bad in Namibia. And I think generally Namibia is in the middle of the road. But I felt like, okay, fine. This was taken last year. This data was taken last year. We can show people different regions how affected they are. I know these numbers don't make a lot of sense now, but I'll see. I have these data sets as a shapefile and as a CSV. I'll just try to convert it and maybe send it by tomorrow. But my problem, my point is fine. In July, right, when this survey was conducted, we can see that, okay, fine. These are the amount of people. It was most of the country was pretty okay. Then if we start moving up, we see how it gets into trouble. But in this cooperation, they also made predictions, right? So they say, okay, fine. By this time in August, we can see that it gets worse. It gets from 88 to 100, and then from just 1 million to maybe 1.1. I know it's a lot to look at, and maybe it's not making sense now, but hopefully I can explain it better. But they predicted also that by April of this year that it gets better. It gets from 1,000, 100,000 to maybe 11,000, and then goes from 1.1 million to, let's say, 700,000 and things like that. So I just want to show people we can take these data sets online and turn it into maps for people to understand in real time. Obviously, we should do it in QGIS. I try to start processing the data already, but hopefully I could follow up with this to make it more sense. And then after making our maps, after all these things to show, no, these are the areas in Namibia that are really struggling in terms of food security. I feel okay. That's step three. Okay, fine. After we turn all that data we found here into information, right? I feel this is where the health society can step in and say, fine, after getting all this information, how can it be used? Maybe the health society can um, take over and say, no, because you indicated where such areas have food insecurity. Maybe you could propose to policymakers, no, you should send relief packages there. You should improve service delivery there. And it doesn't, not just food insecurity, just in different scenarios. Let's say there are not enough clinics in an area. So after creating the useful information, you can say no. These areas are really at risks. You should build hospitals. You should build clinics. You should improve infrastructure, things like that. If I'm making sense. So I feel like in this one, two, and three, these three steps, I feel like if we break down the workshop like this, and then um, I don't know. Again, I'm very open to advice or criticism or whatever things, if different ways we can improve. But this is just how I feel we could possibly do the workshop, and I know it's very soon, so feedback would be appreciated. Yeah, thank you guys.